Welcome to the Harmony in a Hurry podcast. We are Caroline and Anna, mindfulness enthusiasts, exploring ways to weave a little bit of mindfulness into our busy routine. Today we are talking to Guy Lawrence. Guy is a retreat facilitator, podcaster, and entrepreneur. He has a passion for blending science and spirituality and has inspired countless individuals to live a more heart-centered life. Enjoy this episode. Hi Guy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
The first question that we usually ask is, what does mindfulness mean to you?
What does mindfulness mean to me? It's an interesting word, isn't it? It was a word that used to terrify me. I was like, oh my God, what does that mean? But mindfulness means to me these days choice. And I feel for me, choice, when knowing that I can take ownership of my choice, then ultimately to me that is empowering. I feel like so often we can fall into these habits and traits and ways of being through our lives. And quite often the mind will govern the unconscious mind, if you like, the emotions and feelings that can generate within our day from that. And 95% of it is unconscious. So quite often we are making choices from the unconscious. So when I think about mindfulness, I think about taking my power back and actually starting to create choices that align more with my heart than just my head, and start to lean in that exploration and take command of the direction I want to go into my life. Mindfulness doesn't sound sexy, but when you actually break it down and what that means, I think if we have a different relationship with it, then the world is our oyster.
So do you feel like a lot about being mindful is being proactive rather than reactive?
Absolutely. I think you've got to want it. From working with people at our events and our retreats, when those people are there, when they draw a line in the sand, enough's enough, I'm willing to change, I'm 100% committed to moving in a different direction, that's when our world opens up. And I think that's when mindfulness comes to the forefront. And that's when we start to be proactive about the very things that we do. There's a term called metacognition, which means simply being the observer, the witness to one's thoughts. Who's thinking of your thoughts? It's you, the observer. And if you're willing to start to lean into these concepts and be hungry for that change, then you can really start to nurture those new neural pathways, those new habits, because ultimately the body likes the known, it likes safety, it wants to keep you in this contained way. We can feel very challenging when we want to move away from them. It's almost like trying to give up sugar. It's tough. There's a detox. There's something beyond that. But what lays on the other side is the true gold. Reverend Michael Beckwith always says, you can be pushed by your problems or you can be pulled by the vision of your dreams. You've got to create a big enough reason to want to change. And sadly, it's normally only till the pain gets too great, that we do it. So we're always dancing with this momentum forward, momentum back, and so forth. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be this all-encompassing massive vision. It can be simply just having a deeper appreciation for life. It could be simply having a deeper appreciation to be able to step into nature and have the things around you and actually have moments of magic that are always ever present, but we're so busy in our lives. And they skip right past us for so long. It's like, how can we nurture that relationship more and more with the present moment? Because ultimately that's all we have. Every moment is a now moment. It's just we spend so much time anticipating the future or dwelling on the past. We miss those moments. I mean, the Dalai Lama and Buddhist monks, they all been saying these things for many, many years.
So it's true, when you're doing healings with people, they need to get to a point where they're so ready to move through that discomfort of where they're at. So it's like cracking an egg. You've got to be at this point where You don't want to stay comfortable in the discomfort anymore. You want to lean into it and crack it so that then you can move through that point.
Absolutely. And, I feel very blessed in my life today. I have a beautiful family. I live life on my terms. I don't have a day job per se. It could be Sunday night, could be Tuesday morning. I don't really care. And my life never used to look like that growing up in Wales and being on a building site. And it's like my life's been a labor of love in actually being mindful and present to what my heart is calling forward. There's normally some kind of hero's journey to go through it and come out the other side of it. So we really value it and start to really cherish it because we got the contrast of the different emotions that we've been through before we have those moments. Well, we have this gift called life. And to me, it's really important. And by also supporting others that are ready to value their life and take ownership of their bodies and themselves and actually treat themselves with love and respect and nurturing that aspect of themselves too, and light a flame in someone else, then it becomes nothing greater and we start to pay it forward.
And so then it's this beautiful cycle of giving and receiving. Then you're bringing more things to you that give your heart joy anyway.
Absolutely. Where attention goes, energy flows. It's, for me, very simple. And I place all my attention and awareness on things that I want in my life. And it's challenging because we're in a world that's bombarding us with fear and all sorts of challenges. And it's like if we continue to push up against that and feed that, then it's almost like we're contributing to that manifestation continuing, as opposed to letting it go and actually start to not being ignorant to the things that are happening in our lives, but actually start to truly focus on what it is we want to see in ourselves, our communities, and in the greater world. And I think that's how we can start to make a difference and move forward with that kind of concept. And the more you focus and fixate on it, the more it comes into life. But you have to overcome your fears and have to overcome your resistances to that.
And you've been doing this for a long time.
I have.
Do you have an idea of why this kind of work attracts more females than males in general? Why some men run for the hills as soon as you mention?
Oh, God, yeah. I wish I could answer that question. As a man, we need to find our own way there somehow. You can't tell us. That's what I'm finding. I believe with the men within myself, I grew up in a very hard environment in the valleys of Wales. For me to show myself as a man, there was a lot of aggression. I used to be playing rugby, used to be a lot of fights, a lot of drinking. Like that was this warrior archetype that didn't know how to deal with it. But there was always something innate in me that really was empathetic. I just didn't have any guidance to nurture that. I feel like if you can't tell us what to do, how to get there, and with the work, we have to take ownership and know we can figure it out. And it's being able to deal with the emotional aspects of ourselves that I think as men and general in society, we are encouraged to bottle up, push, suppress, push through, be the provider, and even to the point where we can't even articulate it when we decide to look at it. We definitely operate differently to females. So yeah, it's hard because I'm out there as a man and I'm very happy to be a bloke and swear and be up in front of people and actually just be myself. But even getting men through the door in the first place can be of a challenge to that. But the ones that do step through are ready, and interestingly enough, go quite deep very quickly, more so than a lot of the women, But I don't have an answer. I wish I did.
Maybe part of it could be that because men like to fix everything, and sometimes maybe with this type of work, it might not seem as concrete that there's a solution that they can bring. Even if you've got steps, it can be more feeling based than logical steps based, and maybe that might put a lot of men off.
But yeah, it is interesting because I often say, like, I've traveled a lot. I've jumped out of an airplane. I've ridden a Ducati motorbike and opened it up to 200 kilometers an hour down the freeway. There's been nothing more exhilarating than actually going within and exploring the spiritual concepts that are there and the mystical experiences and things like that. And I think, wow, if more people, and women included, actually knew what was possible, and so the world would look a very different place. And it's all within us. All the tools and resources we have are all actually within us. And it's like, how do we convey that message to know that what is possible? Because once you experience it, you won't want to go back to the old ways or the old place of being, the way that culture has kind of pushed upon us, really, through our upbringings and things like that. But ultimately, until you're willing to step in and explore, you'll just keep pushing it away, ultimately.
And so if you found someone that was new to this and was to ask you, how do I start? What would you think is the easiest step for them to get into being the observer and being more mindful?
So being more mindful, well, I think there's two ways of doing it, I believe. There's one, you can just dive into something feet first. Some people need to do that to then spark that fire I was talking about when they go home. So quite often they'll jump into a retreat, jump into an event, jump into having an experience first. Because if you start to have experience, that will challenge your fundamental unconscious belief systems that you didn't even know were governing your life. And if those start to break down and crack open, and you go, oh my God, I had this experience today. What was that? That was incredible. I want more. So for me, I really think the answer is to dive into something, shake it up a bit, have a new experiences, new reference points, new people, inject something, break the patterns, and then the mindfulness is going to come. You know, if I say to you, practice for the next 30 days, 5 minutes of being gratitude, of actually going into your heart, breathing into your heart, and start to send a very different signal to your body, worthy of love, worthy of the moment, all the things in life. And you know, everyone on you would probably nod and agree, but how many will actually do it for the next 30 days right now? Probably none. I'd put my money on it. Right. And that's why I run retreats. I run events and workshops. Because once you get people in and you get them to a state of being as a group, and they can tap into a very different present moment and energy and experience, that's when lives start to change. And that's when the rubber meets the road. And then we can actually use mindfulness to shift our entire life. So it comes back down to choice. 3 simple things we can control in our life, ultimately, that feel beyond our control most of the time. It's how we perceive things, the choices we make from the perceptions, and the actions they lead to that we take from those choices. And if you start to ponder on those 3 things and start to shift those 3, your life will change. I'm a very simple guy. There's no rocket science here, but it's the showing up and the doing that's allowed me to do what I do and go in the direction I do. It's like having the beautiful garden and just that labor of love. Just tend to it slowly every day. Just tend into the garden, and everything will blossom and come when it's ready. But we need to really nurture that.
Get your hands dirty.
Exactly.
Anything else that you want to add that you think might help?
Yeah, don't take it all too seriously. Be willing to laugh at yourself. Have some fun with it, you know. shit can get so heavy so quickly. We can get caught in so much of our stuff. And we have this life. It's a gift. Embrace it. It really is a gift. And if we allow ourselves to live from that place and see it as a gift, value it, value our bodies, giving us the opportunity to experience this gift called life, and actually start to honor all those aspects within ourselves, have some fun along the way. Who cares? Yeah.
I like
Thank you
that.
Thanks so much for your time, Guy.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
And that's it for us for this week. As always, check the show notes to find more about Guy and his offerings. Thanks for listening.